How's it going, you guys? Welcome back. This is going to be my second video of the day, and I'm actually going to start with something new. As you guys can tell, I'm going to be going through quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. I'm going to be telling you guys my guys of week 8, or of each week whenever I do this. And what this means is guys that aren't inside, or relatively inside, like the top 12, okay? Because obviously, if I tell you, yeah, Jordan Love, that's my guy. Like, obviously, he's going against Jacksonville. That's not going to do you guys anything. So I'm going to give you some sleepers. So my guys, oh yeah, that's a good way to put it. My guys is like sleepers, okay? So I'm going to be telling you my sleepers. Two to four for each position. Obviously, quarterbacks, there's only 32 of them. Tight ends, only 32, so I can't go too deep. Pause. Um, oh, well, uh, so I can't go too in depth for quarterbacks and tight ends, but let's get started. The quarterbacks. My number one quarterback that's probably been on your waivers all year is going to be Big Bo Nix. Why do I like him this week? You may be asking. Well, I noticed that his passing the past couple weeks, or this whole year, he honestly has not topped, I believe it's 216 yards. He has not topped 216 yards. They've had 6 weeks. I believe they had their bye already. They may have had 7. But with that being said, hasn't topped 216 yards. So, Landon, why do you like Bo Nix? Well, first things first. Look at who they're playing. They're playing Carolina. Carolina just allowed a 53-yard rush to Jaden Daniels, very first play of the game. That is where Bo Nix is going to be sneaky in the rushing game. People don't look at him as a rusher. When you watched him at Oregon, he was able to scramble, get out of the pocket. Once he gets out of the pocket, he's not afraid to take a hit. He's been showing glimpses of that in the NFL. First couple weeks, Seattle, he wasn't doing that against us. Like, it wasn't rushing. But then after that, he quickly became more comfortable and started to actually get a feel for the game, get a feel for his plays, and then now he's a mobile quarterback and only going to get better with his passing. With that being said, his passing, obviously, like I said, hasn't topped 216 yards. That's not very good. But his completion percentage is going up, which is good. Carolina is going to be a cakewalk. What's his face? The other Oregon quarterback, Marcus Mariota. He came in for Jaden Daniels. They dropped 40-plus points. Like, this defense is so bad. This team is so bad. So Bo Nix is going to be able to use his legs, going to be able to find the open receivers, and he's going to have time. When you give Bo Nix time, the deep ball becomes available, and we'll get into that. But the deep ball is going to become available, and he's going to show the exact same way. I feel like this week is his week where he shows everyone that's doubting him that he can play football. Like, he's going to show what he showed at Oregon this weekend. That's how confident I am in him. Speaking of the rushing, though, most weeks the rushing goes up and up. The first couple weeks, it was low. I think he had one outlier of like 40 yards rushing one game. But then after that, it's under 10, like 4 straight weeks. But the past 2 weeks, he's had 61 rushing yards on 6 carries. And then last week, he had 75 rushing yards on 10 carries. It's only going up. And now if he can get in the end zone on one of those carries, that's an extra 6 points, depending on your league. But that's an extra 6 points for you. And then, who knows? You guys might be in points per carry. That's 0.25 points. It's a quarter of a point every single carry. Let's say he runs 10 times. That's already 2.5 points. Like, 2.5 points doesn't sound like a lot, but if you can get a free 2.5 points because you have a mobile quarterback, I'm all for it. Okay. Next one. Big Kirk Cousins, okay? Kirk Cousins, Seattle made him look stupid, made him look terrible. First time Seattle has looked good since week 3, and I loved it as a Seahawks fan. But, so I'm talking bad about him. Why do I want him? I want him because obviously I know he's not going to do the same exact thing, but he had 42 completions on 58 pass attempts against them 3 weeks ago. He's playing the Bucks again. With that game that happened on primetime, he had 509 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. Last week, it dropped drastically by more than half of his passing yards. I think he finished with like 235. He had 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, doesn't scramble, obviously still coming off that Achilles injury. So, I'm more excited about Bo Nix than Kirk, which is why I have Bo Nix number 1. I didn't do that for every single thing. It's just Bo Nix was the first one to come to mind. But Kirk, I don't like that he's still recovering from the Achilles injury and he's regressing. But what I do like is that he knew 3 weeks ago how to shred this Tampa Bay defense. Now, Tampa Bay is not the same. They just lost their wide receivers, so it might not be like a back and forth game like it was 3 weeks ago. And they did get Vita Vea, which is huge for their defensive line because he's a disruptor. You throw him on that defensive line, now the opposing quarterback has less time because you're going to have to double team Vita Vea. So, Kirk's a risky one, but like I said at the beginning, I'm not going to just throw out names like Jordan Love, Joe Burrow. I'm not doing that. We know they're going to succeed. If they don't, that sucks, but like I'm just not going to tell you guys to start someone or think about starting someone that's top 5 in their position. But Kirk, you're not going to get rushing upside, but we're going to hope that he progresses from the last 2 weeks and goes back to what he did 3 weeks ago. Obviously, he's not going to throw for 500 yards, but if he can throw for 350, like 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, that'd be good. That'd be good. Okay, on to the next one. It is going to be De'Von Achane. Okay. With Achane, I am a little bit hesitant because he's been terrible. The Miami Dolphins have been terrible. But with that being said, guess who comes back this week? Tua. Tyreek looked ecstatic. Well, he looked like he wanted to be traded to the Chiefs, but when they traded for Hopkins, he flipped the switch and started getting all hyped for Tua to come back, which is good. But Achane, first 2 weeks with Tua. 10 carries the first week. That's not great, but it's not bad. He had 24 yards rushing, though, in that game. That's bad. That's, 2.4 yards per carry. He did get in the end zone. He was getting those red zone rushes instead of Raheem Mostert, which is good. But what I loved, his passing game work. If you're in a PPR league, you should be starting Achane. If you're not, I'd stay away. I would stay away. But Tua and the Miami Dolphins go up against Arizona this week. That's a positive game script for them. They should dominate Arizona. Arizona, on paper, looks good on the offensive side, but I think they've scored more than 20 points once or twice. It's just every time we think we're going to get a good game from Arizona, we don't. It's unfortunate. But the first 2 weeks with Tua, 7 targets, 7 catches in both games, okay? The second game of the year, he had a touchdown in the air and 22 rush attempts for 96 yards. That right there, the game that Tua got hurt, only 62% snap percentage. But with that 62% snap percentage, he got the ball 29 times. And if you guys can remember, he was nursing an ankle injury. Maybe that was carrying through. After Tua got hurt, he was still nursing that ankle injury. Who knows? Maybe the Dolphins just weren't admitting it to the public, but it wasn't great. Because after that, it was 11 carries for 30 yards. And then the next game, 10 carries for 15 yards, barely getting any receptions. Then New England, 3 carries for 18 yards, did get the concussion, so that's whatever. But then last week, he came back up to 58% snap percentage with Raheem Mostert, with, Jalen Wright. If you're still over that 50% with Tua at quarterback, I'm going to take that. I'm going to put that in my starting lineup. And I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I am starting Achane in the league that I have him. But last week against Indy without Tua, 58% snap percentage, 15 carries, 77 yards. Finally, he got his yards per carry back up, okay? That's 5.13 yards per carry. That is what we need from Achane. We don't need him running through the sticks. We need him running out to the outside. We need him catching passes. Last week, only 2 catches for 8 yards, but that's besides the point. Tua's back. Tua's going to look for the checkdowns. He doesn't want to get hit. We, as football fans, don't want Tua to get hit. So Tyreek, Tua, Jonnu Smith. That's a sneaky play. I did not put him in my tight ends list. We'll get there. But I might add him. That's a sneaky play. It's just these checkdowns, okay? Like, that's why I said if you're in a PPR league, we need to find Achane, okay? Because he will get his targets, he'll get his carries, and then if he can get in the end zone, which I think he will, let's say 5 catches for 50 yards, okay? That's already 10 points. Let's say 10 carries. That's 15 opportunities to touch with the ball. 10 carries. Let's go 60 yards because Arizona's run defense is not good. So 10 carries, 60 yards. That's already an extra 6. That's 16 points. He gets in the end zone. That's 22 points. Okay? If you play in a PPR league without the points per carry, without the first downs, without all that stuff, that's 22 points right there. You're going to take that any day of the week. And I fully expect him to get that. Okay? Next one. All right. Josh Jacobs. He's going against Jacksonville. Like I said, I think Jordan Love's going to have 3+ touchdowns. It's just, hopefully, Josh Jacobs can get one in the air. Fun fact, Josh Jacobs had like 219 catches in his career. Last week was his first ever touchdown reception. So, props to him. But now you know. Jordan Love's going to check down in the red zone. It was an 8-yard reception for a touchdown, maybe 9, but that's beside the point. But if you can get looks in the red zone from the quarterback, but then also be a good red zone running back, that's huge. And then Josh Jacobs is in a positive game script this week. They're going to destroy Jacksonville. Jacksonville is so bad. And Josh Jacobs should probably receive 15+ carries. He should get in the end zone at least once. Last week, he had 12 carries for 76 yards. That's 6.33 yards per carry. That's huge. And last week, guess how many receptions he had? The most all year. He had 5 catches for it was terrible. 5 catches for 16 yards, but he got into the end zone. Okay? Jordan Love's going to look to check down. Probably not too much this game. He's going to look to sling it because he can afford, if he gets picked off, they're already going to be up 3 touchdowns. It's not going to be close. So, Josh Jacobs, I expect him to have over 100-yard scrimmage, over 17, 18 opportunities with the ball, get in the end zone, another 20-point week, okay? Last week he had 20 in just a normal PPR league, 20 points. I expect him to do the same thing, if not more, because Jacksonville's defense is so much worse than Houston's, and he did that against Houston last week, okay? And last but not least, I had honestly written this guy off, Rachaad White, completely wrote him off, did not expect to ever look his way again. But Bucky Irving, depending on his progress report, depending on his practice report this week, Rachaad White is a sneaky play if Bucky Irving cannot play due to that toe injury that just held James Cook out 2 weeks ago, if you guys remember that. So, why do I like Rachaad White? Well, when I was talking about Kirk Cousins, I think this is going to be, I think Atlanta takes this game due to the fact that Tampa Bay just lost Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So they lost their 2 big wide receivers. Now that leaves them with Jalen McMillan, Sterling Shepard, who's 31, but did play with Baker at Oklahoma, so they might be looking to rekindle that connection. I think that's the right wording. I don't know. It's actually a pretty big word. But but they're looking to rekindle that connection. And then they have one more, but I forget who it is. But with that being said, they pretty much have 3 slot receivers. And whoever gets that slot receiver role that Chris Godwin was in is going to be the most beneficial wide receiver to your team. But we're not going to know until game time. So Chris Godwin's unfortunately out for the year. And Mike Evans is out until the bye week, which is in 3 weeks. So who does that leave? Welp, Rachaad White. In the passing game, if Bucky Irving doesn't play, I expect Rachaad White to have around 10 carries, which isn't a lot, but I expect him to have 6+ receptions. Last week, he had 6 targets for 6 catches, 71 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Okay, that's the huge difference, is he will get in the end zone. If Baker needs to find a check down in the red zone, who is it? It's going to be Rachaad White. He's going to get in the end zone at least once, okay? K9, Kenneth Walker, for you guys that don't know his nickname. K9, last week, destroyed. He caught a passing touchdown and got a rushing touchdown, okay? I expect Rachaad White to do the exact same thing against this Atlanta defense. Atlanta's just, their defense, I expected to be really good. They're just not that great. Maybe they suffered some injuries that I don't know about, but they haven't been performing. But Rachaad White, 10 for 40 last week, too, on the ground. That's 4 yards per carry. That's pretty much league average. I think league average is 4.1, 4.2. So just below, but pretty much there. And then he had 48% snap count. That's not good, okay? But if that was with Bucky Irving in the game. If Bucky Irving does not play this game, what are we looking at? We're looking at 60%. Yes, that's only a 12% spike, but that's probably 10 to 15 touches that are going to be distributed between Rachaad White and Sean Tucker. What that means is Rachaad White last week had 16 opportunities on 48 snap percentage. He's now going to be close to 20. Sean Tucker's probably going to be 12. Okay, Sean Tucker's not going to be catching passes out of the backfield. If this is a negative game script, like I believe it is for the Bucks, Sean Tucker 10, and then Rachaad White 22. Okay, that's what I expect the split to be, and that's why I think Rachaad White is going to be an RB that you can sleep on. Honestly, might even, depending on the toe injury, if we get better news from Bucky, depending on the toe injury, Rachaad White might be a sneaky trade target down the stretch with no wide receivers for the Bucks. Okay, next one, T. Higgins. Not much to really explain. Yes, you guys might have him in your top 12. I said I'm not doing it, but T. Higgins going against Philly. I think it's going to be back and forth game. No team has a defense, but I did want to bring to light T. Higgins since since returning from his injury. That first game, I'm not really counting that because that was his first game back from his hamstring injury. But from week 4 to week 7, so 4 straight weeks, he has out-targeted, what's his face? The guy on the opposite side, Ja'Marr Chase. He has out-targeted Ja'Marr Chase. He's very, very, very efficient with those targets. Last week he had 8 targets. Okay, I say he's very, very efficient. He caught 4 of them, but yes, I know that's not great. That's 50%. That's failing. But with those targets, there's a squirrel on my roof. With those targets, he had 4 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. There's where his efficiency came into play for y'all that wanted to get on my head right there. The week prior, 7 targets, 7 catches, 77 yards, 77777, and that's 11 yards per reception. Okay. If you're in a PPR league, again, I'm not going to do any points based off standard or half PPR. I only play in PPR, so that's where my things are coming from. But 7 catches, 77 yards, that's 14.5 points. I expect him to get in the end zone this game. I expect him to do the same thing, have at least 7 catches. We're going to go 7 catches. I'm going to say 85 yards and a touchdown. That's 15 plus 6. That's 21 plus points, okay? He may even have more yards than that, but that's what I expect. 21 plus points. That's why T, you got to plug him in. I don't know if you are contemplating it. You're probably not. If you have T, you're playing him. he's definitely someone I'm stashing in my starting lineup. Baltimore the week before that, 14 targets, 9 catches, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, this is what I'm telling y'all. Like, he's just very, very efficient, okay? So, no need to talk more on that. The next one's going to be Brian Thomas Jr., okay? He's going up against Green Bay. What did I say with Josh Jacobs? When I talked about Josh Jacobs, they're going to be in a positive game script. What does that mean for the Jags? They're going to be in a negative game script. What does that mean? Tank Bigsby, not going to be beneficial at all. They're not going to get the run game. They're going to try to get the run game established. They're going to go down early. First half, they're probably going to be down at least 2 touchdowns, maybe 17 points even. So that's 3 possessions. They're going to have to pass. Second half, first half may not be great for Brian Thomas. Second half, Trevor Lawrence is not going to have any option other than to just pass, okay? So, again, another tight end. You can do Evan Ingram. But this one right here, Brian Thomas, he's going to be peppered with targets. If he doesn't get peppered with targets, it's because Jair Alexander is shadowing. But do I care? No. Brian Thomas, he's a big target. I believe he's 6'2", about 210. He's fast, a deep threat. He might even catch a deep pass for a touchdown. That'd be huge. But Brian Thomas, he's going to have 6 receptions, 80 yards, probably get in the end zone. That's a serviceable day, 20 points, okay? If he doesn't get in the end zone, you're probably not going to be happy with his performance. But they're going to be in such a negative game script. The Packers defense in the second half, they're going to be just pretty much shadowing. They're not going to be going as hard as they are in the first half because they don't need to get an injury risk, okay? So Brian Thomas is just going to get force-fed the ball the second half. He's their deep threat. I don't like Christian Kirk. I'm one of the only people I know that don't like Christian Kirk, but what I'm saying is you just plug him in your lineup. You're not thinking twice. Same thing for Dobbs. He was a diva 2 weeks ago, got suspended. Last week came back, first game off his suspension. I believe he had 2 touchdowns. You're never going to be able to guess. My dad and I had just talked about this. You're never going to be able to guess who the number 1 wide receiver is for the Packers. You just want to hope that whenever you start that receiver, it's going to be them that week and not someone else. Dobbs, pretty self-explanatory. I think Jordan Love's going to have 3-4 touchdowns, even 3 in the first half, which is why I had Josh Jacobs ranked as a sneaky play, because the second half is just going to be carry. So Dobbs, you hope he gets in the end zone. You hope he gets 5 catches. You hope more, obviously, but he's probably going to get in the end zone, 5 catches, 60 yards, 50 yards. It's like that right there, 17-point day. You live with it. You go home. You enjoy that you started Dobbs, okay? But he does have Dontavian Wicks on the outside. He has Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson. He has all those players, but I think Dobbs, that's a red zone target, to be honest. That's just who Jordan Love loves. But no, so just plug him in. You hope for a touchdown. Last one, Troy Franklin, okay? Why am I such a big fan? Why am I such a big fan of Troy Franklin? Well, 1, I'm an Oregon fan. 2, I love Bo Nix. And 3, I think this is the week he breaks out. I really do. Last week, he saw 6 targets, the most he's seen literally all year. He had 5 catches, 50 yards. I think the one target that he didn't catch, I think that was the one where Bo Nix somehow placed it perfectly in between his open tight end, 20 yards down the field, and then somehow placed it right in between the open tight end 20 yards and Troy Franklin 30 yards down the field. They're both wide open. It just dropped right in between both of them. I think that was the one target, so you shouldn't even fault him for that. But 50 yards, okay, not great. His season hasn't been good at all, but Denver wants to go with youth. I may be 1 week too early on Troy Franklin, but I think Sutton gets dealt during the trade deadline. I think they go with Vele and Troy Franklin as their wide receiver 1A and 1B. I think Troy Franklin gets a deep touchdown this week from Bo Nix. I see them shredding Carolina. And I see Troy Franklin and Bo Nix showing that Oregon Ducks connection. I'm looking forward to it, to be honest. There's not much to say about Troy Franklin other than I'm hoping, because he hasn't shown anything for me to give you guys beneficial stats. He's just shown in college what he can be with Bo Nix, and I'm hoping that correlates to this week, okay? I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Again, I'm starting Troy Franklin. Not very many people would do that. I have DK on the bench. I had Jordan Addison on the bench, and I have one more strong play on the bench. I forget who it is, but I'm starting Troy Franklin over all of them. If DK does not play, I will be dropping Geno and picking up Bo Nix. I'm gonna do it. I'm a firm believer in the Denver Broncos this week. So shout out those. No, hold on. Let me rephrase that. I'm a firm believer in the ex-Oregon Ducks. Now, last but not least, the tight ends. I know this video is pretty long. I apologize, but I want to give you guys as much information as I possibly can. That way, I give you guys beneficial information on why I feel like these guys can be sleepers, okay? So, first tight end, Njoku. Not much to say other than Deshaun Watson is hurt, so it's going to be Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston, y'all know him. He is not afraid, okay? But he will force feed the ball to Njoku all game. Last week, 14 targets, 10 catches for Njoku. His first week finally healthy after that ankle injury that he suffered in week 2. Week 5, he came back, re-aggravated, didn't play again after the first quarter. So week 6, he came back, had 7 targets, looked pretty efficient. But then last week, week 7, that's when he really came back. He spiked at 14 targets, 10 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown. Baltimore, can you run on them? Nope. How do you beat them? Well, you won't beat them. Cleveland, there's no hope for you guys. But, so who's going to be beneficial? Well, let me tell you. The person that's going to be beneficial is Njoku. Right down the middle. There's no Amari Cooper anymore. Njoku's going to get peppered. He's going to score a touchdown. He will find the end zone. You're going to get about a 15-point week minimum from Njoku. From a tight end, that's damn near the best thing you can ever hear. That you're going to get 15 points from your tight end in this year. Okay? Second, Cade Otton. What have I been talking about this whole time? Rachaad White's going to benefit from the passing game. Who else? Cade Otton. Right down the middle. Baker already shows trust in him. Last week, his 2 wide receivers got hurt. Cade Otton, 10 targets, 8 catches, 100 yards. This week, he'll probably find the end zone, probably with 6+ catches, probably with 60+ yards. That 6 catches plus 60 yards, that's 12 points. In the end zone, that's 18 points. May even get more catches than that, because if they want to move the ball, it's going to be to Cade Otton, it's going to be to Rachaad White, it's going to be to Jalen McMillan, okay? Like, those are my 3 that I really trust. So, smash play all 3 of those if you have them. Cade Otton, 18+. I think him and Njoku are going to be very good. If you have them, you start them. I'd honestly start both these tight ends over some pretty good tight ends, to be honest. Like, Pitt's finally coming alive, which is good. Mark Andrews finally coming alive. Kincaid, if he wasn't playing Seattle, I'd say start both these players over him. Like, that's where I'm at. And I may even start both of them over Kincaid as well. But last but not least, Noah Fant. This play is strictly if DK's out. If DK's in, don't start Fant. If DK's out, Fant's going to catch around 5 passes, probably 35 yards, maybe get in the end zone. It will be raining during the game, which is why I think Noah Fant's a sneaky play. Tyler Lockett, JSN, all sneaky. Not so much Bobo. Like, I do like Jake Bobo. For y'all that don't know, I believe he went to Duke or UCLA, one of those two. We drafted him. Seattle drafted him. He's actually been fairly decent, but he doesn't get any targets. Last week he messed up a route. Geno got pissed, laid into him. But Noah Fant, if DK's out, he's a sneaky play. He four catches last week, 6 catches the week before, 60+ yards both weeks, 2 weeks in a row. That I actually didn't. I forgot about that. So Fant might even be a sneaky play no matter what, especially in the rain. Okay, so tight ends, obviously not much to talk about. I just wanted to provide some information. Quarterbacks, same thing. Running backs, wide receivers, that's where I really wanted to feed you guys information. Okay, this was a longer video. This is a 30+ minute video. I do apologize if you wanted it to be shorter, but I wanted to provide you guys with all the information I could. So, with that being said, I am out. I'm taking flight to Seattle tonight. I'm going to the Seahawks game with my dad, and after that, I will come back and talk about my guys and see how they did on Monday night. Okay? All right. Peace and love. Love y'all.